Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Hello, my friends, wherever you are, be it in Zambia, Lusaka, Harare, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Johannesburg, Tanzania. Welcome to another episode of Makamba Life. And today, we are fortunate enough to have a young businessman, and I'm going to go straight in and ask Mr. Tawanda Makamba. Hello.
Morning.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
How are you?
Pleasure.
Very good.
Yes.
So as a young entrepreneur, what do you think are the barriers of most young Africans in getting into business? What are the barriers of getting into business?
Okay. I think when you speak about the barriers of entry, I would say mainly capital. And it's actually quite a big issue. You know, when you go into business for yourself and you're a young black entrepreneur, you don't have the same collateral or the same means that others may have, especially those who are coming from an established background or those who have that background behind them. So I think your biggest barrier right now is capital. Yes.
Okay. I've met people who say a lack of capital is a mindset.
I believe so, and I think there are many ways around it. But I think what you find as being a young African when you enter the business world, especially I can only speak from my point of view as a young Zimbabwean living in a foreign country as well. You know, when you if you look, for example, at other races or communities, if we speak about the Indian community or the Jewish community or such communities, you know, they have internal support structures. They realized when they went into business that they faced these challenges, and they now have institutions which they can go to and borrow money, etc. You know, to start their business. So that's one of the challenges that not only myself but other people in my position have found. So we're in the process of also trying to create our own ecosystems that we can then also go to our communities or have our own financial institutions where we can go and you know, borrow the capital from, get the required skills for, etc. Yes.
You have an MBA from Lancaster University. What value do you think there is in postgraduate business programs for African business people? And is this a must?
Look, I don't think it's a must, because you read many success stories of people who have not gone to school and have been successful. I think what school sets you up for, especially those postgraduate programs, it gives you tools that you can then use. So it changes your mindset in terms of how you look at business, how you think, the processes you put in place. It basically gives you a framework to work off. You know, what you then do with that framework is entirely up to you. But I think in terms of education, for me personally, it's been vitally important.
Do you have a global comparison of what, say, the Americans, the Canadians, the Malaysians, Singaporeans, you know, do for their young people to help them, you know, get into business, to ease the way for them to get into business, as opposed to young people in Nigeria, Mozambique, South Africa for that matter?
Well, I think if you look globally, there are systems in place that assist young people going into business. I mean, if you look for the example of places like Singapore, for example, you know, they have very well mapped out institutional policies which they put in place, which assist SMEs and people grow into business, and that's what their economies are based on. And I think in Africa we're starting to catch on and catch up to that trend. I think if you look at what's happened in countries such as Rwanda, Ghana, what's happened with Nigeria, where they've put in place the diaspora fund, for example, that helps business. You know, there's a recognition that business is needed, and those institutions help drive that growth. I think in South Africa, depending on your status, I think there are a number of institutions you go to. You know, we've seen a great rise in enterprise development funds, which are mainly helping previously disadvantaged people who come into the business. And I think those enterprise development funds are crucial, not only in terms of the capital that they provide, but also they tend to provide you with additional expertise. So if you manage to access some of that funding and then you go into a business hub where then you have access to consultants, whether it be marketing, financial, or whatever, that may be outside your skill set. And that really helps. So I think they're developing that. And what you've seen in terms of the development also of business hubs for entrepreneurs, it's an idea that Richard Branson champions, but now we've seen Africans developing their own hubs. And I think those are crucial to the development of SMEs and people coming into business as well.
Mm. What is the Two Blessed Group?
Okay, so
what is that?
So the Two Blessed Group is effectively the Two Blessed Group has been operational now for the past 3 years, and it's effectively what we do is we provide engineering consultancy, and we also play in that property space. So far in the Two Blessed Group, we've been involved in RDP housing. We've helped get financing so far for I think 5,000 RDP houses. We've provided consultancy for people who are in that space who need consultancy, whether it be project management, planning. We also have a construction arm which we can also lease out to people. But our biggest project so far, which we're very excited about, is the Crown Grant project, which is basically a development that we're doing in Hermanus. We're doing this development in conjunction with two other partners, and there was a year-long tender process which the Hermanus municipality ran. We won that tender process, so we will be developing a resort over just under 9 hectares of prime land on the seafront, and we will start construction next year.
And what are I guess they are African contractors. I'm trying to understand the economic benefits of our people, of the African people in such a sophisticated development.
Okay, so maybe I should just take it a step back and explain the development. So what we have, like I say, we have 2 other partners who are involved in the project. One is the design component, which is Pool, who are based in Pretoria. The other group is the Mantis Group, and they will be helping us manage the hotel and the hospitality that goes in that, and we're providing the engineering expertise. So what we will be providing then essentially is job creation, not only on the construction site, but also with the resort going forward. As per part of the tendering legislation, 26% of everything that we do on that site has to be locally based. So we're using local staff. We'll be taking people, we'll be training them, so we'll be upskilling people. So it's not only like we're going to have bricklayers, we're going to have a full package of people who come in, and then we'll be training people who come in to run the resort itself. The lease that we have with the municipality, it's a 50-year lease. So after that, we have to hand back, the resorts to the municipality. So our goal is that we will have upskilled the local community, especially the underprivileged people, so they can take part in it, and ultimately they will own the resort once we're done with it.
Interesting. And as a group, do you have a vision for Africa? Do you have a vision for the future?
We have a vision for the future. I don't think I would say we have a vision for Africa. I think what we have right now is a vision for South Africa. Everyone who that we have in that group basically has a BE background. They were all formerly employed in large construction companies, so we took them under the umbrella of Two Blessed. And basically what we have is we help them get additional work. So while they'll be loose contractors to us, our whole drive is that we get them additional work, whether it be on these projects that we've discussed, or if they're going out to tender for their own projects, we support them to the point where they can get their projects. And the whole point behind that is that they empower themselves, they have their own workforce, they can anywhere they go, they employ locally and locally underskilled people and skill them up. So that's our legacy, really. That while we have some standalone units in the business, they will eventually move out to themselves and be full-fledged businesses themselves.
I've met a lot of young men and young women who are working for the large, corporate companies, and they say, we face a challenge. How do you the transition from a multinational to running your own business. There's no salary guaranteed, there's no income guaranteed, there is no success guaranteed. What is your advice as somebody who has done that, who has moved from a huge transnational corporation to working for yourself? What advice would you offer?
I would say it's not something that you just want to jump into. You must have a solid plan. You must understand what you're getting into. I mean, personally for myself, I left Standard Bank, which was a huge corporation. I also worked for ZTE, which employed thousands of people. Then I made the transition to working for myself. And I would say that I was lucky enough to have a very strong support system. I had a plan. And also you must understand that with business that there are ups and downs. So you must be equipped to absorb some of those shocks, because not everything is going to go the way you plan, and that is something that you must always understand. So I think the most important thing is, you must have your plan. The crucial thing is, can you finance what you are doing? And also, there comes a point where you must know that this is not going to work anymore. So if you say to yourself, I'm trying to do this for 6 months, do it for 6 months. If it doesn't work after 6 months, then you may have to pack your bags and go back to corporate. Don't try and stretch it out for 8, 10 months, and then suddenly you find yourself overwhelmed by debt, etc., and you can't carry on. So I think it's a question of having a solid plan and sticking to it. And also, it's important if you try and find someone to mentor you. I'm lucky enough that I've had,
You've had in the audience.
Yes.
To mentor you.
Yes, to mentor me, etc. But I mean, if you find someone who can mentor you and help you through the process, then that's very valuable.
Okay, so as we wind up, what would you say is the greatest life lesson that you have learned so far? We always want our viewers, and the people who follow this show to benefit from the guests' experience. What would you say is the greatest lesson that life has taught you so far?
I think the greatest lesson is, things will not always go the way you plan. And as solid as your business plan may be on paper and what you think is, we're all susceptible to changes in the environment. And the question is, when that happens, do you have a fallback plan? What can you do to then mitigate all of these things that happen to you? And I think the most important thing is you must understand that you will fail, and that failure should not make you give up. I think you read all these success stories, you fail countless times. It's about how you then get up, retool yourself, and learn from that failure. Because if you carry on making the same mistakes, then there's no chance of success.
Tawanda Makamba, it's been great talking to you.
Pleasure.
I wish you success and a very happy new year with all your ventures.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us on Makamba Live today, when we were speaking to a young leading businessman in Africa, Tawanda Makamba. Join us next time. Thank you.